up.
Hey,
Well,
everyone.
that worked.
That actually worked quite well, didn't it?
Yeah. So, how is everybody doing? Should we do some hellos just before we kick off?
Yeah, that sounds
So
like a
we've
plan.
got Sandra in. Hello, Sandra. Red Wing. We have Scott. Hi, Scott. Patsy. Hello, Patsy. The lovely Patrice is here. Hi, Patrice. And Nancy. Nice to see you, Nancy. We've got Naomi. Hi, Naomi. And Rachel's here. Laurie. And Laura. Karina. Sonique. Cheyenne. Nikki and Nikki. So welcome to everybody who's here. So we're broadcasting across both channels. I think it should have worked out like that anyway. I know we didn't do a dummy run, but it worked the last time we did it, didn't it, Chris?
Yeah, I think we are, because I can see some people in my chat. So before we kick off, I'm just going to let everyone know what I just said to you, Simon. To the people that are in my chat, if you're wondering why Simon's saying hi to so many people, we're broadcasting to both channels. So we're live on Simon's channel and we're live on my channel, which means there's a chat on Simon's channel and there's a chat on my channel, and you won't be able to see each other. So if you want, pop over to the chat on Simon's channel because it's much busier. Or if you're just wanting a wee quiet chat, then just, stay where you are with your cuppa and enjoy.
And the thing is, we get to see both
we do
join together. So, because we want this to be interactive as well. So if you've got questions, or statements you want to make, if you put them in capitals, like Shadow Workers just said hello. I know it's not in capitals, but we can then put it onto the screen. So it doesn't matter which chat you're in, you'll be contributing anyway. And did I just say twist the leaf? My.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
That's a nice surprise. Haven't seen you on YouTube for a couple of years. Got to be a couple of years. And Ramon's here as well. And welcome to everybody else that's come in. So, are you ready to kick off?
Yep, I think I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, so Chris and I have been kind of talking over the last few days and planning this together. I think we decide on Monday or Tuesday about Throwback Thursday, because we've been planning for quite some time to do another joint live, because we've done Cartomancy Cave specials in the past. We usually do our annual Boxing Day bash as well, don't we? Every Boxing Day. And we was talking about doing a collaboration, but it's finding time these days. And Chris always goes live at this time on a Thursday. And we talked about doing a joint deck review together, or something, a deck that we've both got. But over the last few months, I've had quite a few messages from subscribers saying, will you bring back Throwback Thursday? With Chris going live on a Thursday night, we didn't want to monopolize that and do like a live every week. So we thought that we would probably make this a monthly series. So perhaps, I know originally I said, last Thursday of the month, thinking that this was still May. And then when it comes to setting the premiere, I was like, it's June. So probably the first Thursday of the month. But by way of an intro, just so if you have joined this community in the last 3 years, because it's 3 years in July since Throwback Thursday stopped, it was kind of a year-long series that I did, where the idea behind it was that there's a lot of videos walkthrough videos of new decks all the time. You know, every day. I'm guilty of them. I love doing unboxings and walkthroughs, and it's great to see unboxings of new decks because that provides a service. But if you are coming into the community and you're just seeing new decks, then you miss kind of like the older well-loved decks within the community as well, unless you go searching for them. So the idea was originally of Throwback Thursday was to look at decks that we've worked with for a long period of time, at least a couple of years, because again, something that walkthroughs don't do is kind of the first impressions, aren't they? So we open a deck, we give our first impressions, what we think to the packaging, what we think to the card stock, whether we like it because it's gilded or not gilded, bordered or borderless, and we talk about the artwork and how we're going to use it. But the idea of Throwback Thursday is, well, here's a deck that I've had for 2 or 3 years, maybe longer, and this is a reintroduction to the community of an older deck, and also a little bit of insight about how we use it, what particular readings we do with it, what impact it has on us. And so, yeah, that's kind of where we got to. So we decided at the beginning of this week that we would bring Throwback Thursday back, blow off the dust of it, give it a bit of a new look. And the new format is it's, over 2 channels. We're doing this together. It's a collaboration between Chris and I. And we'll just see how we go. And we want you to join in, particularly if it's a deck that you've got as well, and what you think and how you use it and all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of like the premise behind it. For those who might be watching through Chris's channel, I'm Simon from the channel Hermit's Cave. Chris?
And for anyone who's watching on Simon's channel, I'm Chris from Elemental Cartomancy.
Remember the 2 Ronnies? And it's good night from and it's good night from me, or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I agree, and I think it's quite good sometimes to get that different perspective. When there are so many kind of so many videos showing people's first impressions of a deck, unboxings and type. It's quite refreshing to get a different perspective on something. So I'm quite excited to do this.
Yeah. So you will have seen from the title, and I'll put a banner up. We're kicking off with a really special deck, because this is, from the moment I unboxed it, it was an instant favorite for me. I absolutely love it. And if anybody's seen my top 10 tarot decks of all time, this is number 2 next to my beloved RWS. It's a gorgeous deck, and it's one that you really like as well. So it was a bit of a no-brainer, really, to start off with this, wasn't it?
Yeah, lovely deck to start off with. I'm excited. I'm excited to kind of share the cards that we like and stuff, if we can get through them all.
Yeah. Chris messaged me last night saying, "Oh my gosh, I've got so many favorite cards," and then I did mine this morning, and I messaged him saying, "Oh, I've got this amount," and he's like, "Oh, I don't feel so bad now. I've got half that." So, and Nody Way's here. Hello, lovely. Nice to see you. Oh, just ordered the Shimmering Veil. Oh, I thought you meant like before you've. I'm here, so I've just ordered it. The synchronicity, you'd ordered it anyway. Whew.
Yeah.
Cool. And Malamir.
Yeah, hi Malamir. Yeah, so I suppose into a wee bit about the production of it. So the deck was produced by Silla in 2020. So the deck is 3 years old as well now. It must have come out around about the same time that Throwback Thursday stopped. The artist is Silla Conway, who's someone that we all kind of know and love. She's in all the kind of our groups on Facebook, and she's been a guest on many YouTube channels, including Simon's. I think has Scylla been on with you a couple of times, Simon?
No, it almost happened. We set it up. Everybody was waiting in the chat.
Yeah.
I connected with her, and her connection. She lives in Italy, and they don't have brilliant broadband. And not SharePoint. What's it called? What we're using? StreamYard.
StreamYard.
Yeah, StreamYard just wouldn't work, and we didn't go live because it was just freezing all the time.
Right.
So she said we're due new cables soon, and as soon as I get new cables, but it could be a year or so, we'll do it again. So we never actually got to hit that live button, and I was gutted.
Oh, right. Oh, that's funny. That I had like so cemented in my brain that I'd seen you talking together and stuff like that. Because like well, I've obviously seen her on someone's channel because she's really down to earth. That's the thing about her. She's very down to earth. She's very to the point. You know, she doesn't kind of beat around the bush or anything. She's kind of a very upfront person, and it's quite refreshing.
Yeah,
But
she's on
I've
Tarot
got
Map. She's been on Tarot Map a couple of times. If you ever watched Kasha,
Kasha. Maybe that's what
yeah,
I'm thinking of then. I've got. I will post it in both chats, so Simon will see it twice. But I took a copy of our website, which I'm pasting in the chats now. So this is where it's just Scylla's website. You can go in and find out more about Scylla. You can find out more about the stuff that she's done because she's an artist, as well as a creator of like tarot and oracle decks. But you can also get the link to her shop if you do want to kind of a go and look and see what she's got on offer there. So yeah, and of course I've just come out of my stuff. The deck is published by CC3. I tried to look them up to see what other decks they've produced. I could only find them talking about Scylla's Devas of Creation decks. So I'm not sure, and like I think basically Scylla's decks. I'm not sure if they've worked with anyone else that we know in terms of tarot.
I think she tends to class it as like self publishing, and just kind of using like a printing company, because she sent me a couple of posters before, and she'll say she'll use words like, I'll get in touch with my printers and see if they'll
Okay, there you go then.
yeah, so I think that's how it works.
Okay, cool. The box, lovely sturdy box. It's one of these kind of a clamshell boxes. Not very many decks that I've got that have this type of box. I'm pretty sure Malamir, your deck's got the same, but it's a very satisfying like snap close. So it is, and it's beautiful, kind of a rose petal, like on the cover.
Yeah, I think
It's the same. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I think it's probably also just to mention, you've got the first edition, and I've got the second edition. So there are quite very minor changes, but I know somebody like Nodi Way, who said they've just ordered it. They'll probably get it like this. So the only difference is there is metallic cold stamping on like the border and the fonts. Even on the side, it's got this kind of holographic, metallic cold stamping, but everything else is the same, even on the inside.
Yeah. The book is paperback, and it also has a kind of a rose petal finish on the cover. The book is absolutely fantastic in terms of the information in it, and that's actually one of the things that I love about just this deck and about Scylla in general. Is she clearly knows an absolute shitload. She has a lot of information to kind of pass on, and she does it in a really beautiful way. So the book is the book is worth getting just in and of itself. Never mind the beautiful deck. But yeah, that's the details of the book. I suppose you're getting a page. If I can just kind of show you, you're getting a color representation of the card and a full page to describe it and give you potential interpretations. And then we've got the cards themselves. So We were trying to work out what the GSM is. I'm not very good at working out GSM. If you've ever watched a walkthrough, I'm rubbish at describing cardstock. So we think it's about 350. It's a kind of a art card type cardstock, and to give you a size representation, here it is against a kind of a US games type card. So you can see that they're quite a bit bigger, but I think that it's quite a good thing in this deck because it lets you appreciate all the kind of a finer details in the artwork and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And it's gorgeous. It's got that nice feel, you know. So when you're handling this deck, it's just from a sensory point of view, it's just it's beautiful, really nice. I'm here, says Deanne. Hi, Deanne.
Hi, Diane. So yeah, I've had the deck. I had to look at as I often do, to work out how long I'd had the deck for. I had to look at my YouTube videos. But I've had this for over 2 years now. It's February 2021. I did my
Oh,
walkthrough
wow.
of this deck. Yeah. So
Well,
it's that long ago.
it came to me June of 2020, right when we was in lockdown. So we went into lockdown at the end of March and had April, May, and June completely locked in. So I remember it came, and it, you know, postman wouldn't they would knock at the door, put it on in the middle of the floor, and then step right back, and then I'd collect it. But because I was locked in, I was doing Quan streams then. But because I was locked in, I'd got a new deck, which was amazing. I really had time to bond with it and work with it and spend a lot of time with it because there wasn't much else to do back in June of 2020. So yeah, it was one of those decks that really sticks in my mind. And because I did a walkthrough, and I think it's only happened to me twice before, but where I'm doing a walkthrough of a deck and I get that, you know, that sort of visceral reaction to something, and from that moment I just knew that this deck was going to be you know, such a powerful tool. And I think the time before was with Japaridze Tarot, where I remember just doing a walkthrough and thinking, oh my god, this is really special. This is, you know, not just a fantastic work of art, but it really speaks on a deep level.
Yep.
So what was your reaction when you first got it?
I think it was much of the same, to be honest with you. Just that one of the striking things about the deck is it can really be appreciated just as a work of art. Like, you can forget about the fact that it's a tarot deck for 5 minutes and just appreciate the artwork, you know. And yeah, that's one of the amazing things. I think when I first got it, I dove into the book and started reading about the
Hunting
lattice, you
Realms.
know, the lattice, all of that kind of stuff. And that led me on a wee trail because she mentions like other YouTube videos and stuff like that, you know, from physicists that explain this idea of all of consciousness being contained within these 8 dimensions, this 8-dimensional lattice. So yeah, that there was that as well. But yeah, just really struck by the art. I'm a real sucker for oils. And I think Sella uses a lot of oils when she's painting.
Yeah, and they're
So
usually really big pieces. You know, when we see an image like that, you know,
yeah,
you have to see it. And that Hermit picture that she sent me is A2 size. And I imagine her, you know, with her easel and her arts, just doing this huge, beautiful oil painting, and then they condense it down into a card size.
yeah.
But what I was going to say as well, because I think sometimes you can be a little bit put off when you start thinking about, you know, the quantum kind of physics and the macro world and the micro world and all that kind of thing.
Knowledge is good.
Oh wow! Sirius just said to me,
That's
"Knowledge
you,
is good."
Yeah, have we heard that?
Did you hear that?
It
was
did.
weird.
It was right when you were saying you can be put off thinking about quantum realms and stuff.
Knowledge is good. I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, so this book as well describes it in such an accessible way, you know. And I just wrote a couple of things because I was scribbling notes earlier. And I think to really appreciate the artwork in this deck and work with it, we have to know a little bit about Scylla's work. So, you know, she started off with intuitive tarot, and she talks about in this book how when she started working on the intuitive tarot, she was just painting paintings, as we just talked about, and her knowledge of tarot was really limited. She didn't really know much about tarot at all. And then she got this sense of, as she was depicting the archetypes, that she was working within another realm, is how she described it. They really started to connect to her. And that just really fascinated me. And she says it's about, talking about the shimmering veil, it's about the invisible realms of consciousness and how tarot fits into these strange places. And she talks about on page 5 in the book, a quantum entanglement, when you start talking about the macrocosm, you know, our world, the world in which we live in, this space and everything else, and then the micro. And she says it creates an Alice in Wonderland type realms, the macro, micro. And the mind itself works according to quantum laws, which that just really fascinated me. And then how she says, how does the micro world affects us in the quantum world? And then she also, and it's written so simply and straightforward, because, you know, talking about quantum physics isn't simple. And she goes into the theory as well of the holographic universe. And the holographic universe is made up of layer upon layer upon layer of different levels of consciousness. And then when you've got those layers of consciousness, that's what creates the crystal lattice, which is what we see, you know, depicted in our High Priestess card, which is also on the inside of the box. And that crystal lattice is where we are in the third dimension, because there's lots of different dimensions. So once you read that in the introduction, and then you realize that the deck is talking about, she also brings in Carl Jung and archetypes, and those archetypes are, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're in the physical realm or whatever realm you're in, the archetypes are the archetypes. And then when you realize that the artwork that you're looking at brings in all these different realms, that's when it becomes really quite a powerful tool to be working with.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of how we work with the deck, for me, this is actually an all-rounder. I can use this deck for anything. Now, when I first saw it, you kind of get the impression like it's going to be one of these decks that'll be good for like for really deep stuff, you know, for like personal development. And when I see a deck like this, I suppose it's a bit, you know, judging a book based cover, but I tend to think, you know, is it going to be that good for just, you know, when you just want to kind of sling some cards and do a bit of like what I would say fortune telling, but like just kind of like have a wee bit of fun, play with cards and stuff. But it actually is really good. I kind of use this quite often for like something like I'll often pull cards for my friends, for like look for Sandy, and for my best friend, I'll pull like 3 cards. And this is the deck that I use most for that. So yeah, it's an all round deck for me. It's good for the really kind of a deep stuff, like for when I'm like asking myself questions and pondering difficult subjects. But it's also good just for the, you know, I don't know, I guess the more surface level stuff, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
But what about you? Do you use it in a particular way, Simon, or are you all rounder as well with it?
I think I've gone on a journey with it. I think initially because I loved it. Well, I still do love it, but that instant sort of love affair with it, I was using it all the time. Do you know, it's really hard to describe. Sometimes you have those feelings, like something inside is shifting, and you've got that kind of. Sometimes it's like a sense of foreboding, or you just got that. You wake up sometimes, and there's just that internal stuff going on, and you can't get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
I think it's, for me, I've used it for that because the deck in particular takes me beyond the surface level. So if I'm sitting here and I want to ask a quick question or something, I'll grab my RWS, and I get that intuitive hit, and I know the meanings of it, and that's the tarot for me. You can work with that on all different levels. With the Shimmering Veil, I don't find that I necessarily get quick responses. I have to really sit with the cards and sit with the images and then think about how they're making me feel, how I'm reacting. Similar to Deborah Koff-Chapin's Soul Cards kind of vibe, where I've never had just quick, oh, that means that, I have to sit with it. And that's the idea of that deck, is so you sit with it and you take in the images and it brings to the surface. So it's, for me, it's a deck when I'm just feeling out of sorts and I don't necessarily know why, or I've got that angst, or I've got that, there's a shift within and I can't get to the bottom of it. These cards in particular, reading them really help me to bring to the surface what's causing it, what's going on, and how to deal with it. Does that make sense, or was that just total waffle?
It does. No, it does. It definitely does make sense. Yeah. See, I like to do that kind of a thing. So, like for example, with soul cards, I like to pull a simpler, like an RW. In fact, let me just an RWS paired with a soul card, and the Shimmering Veil would work well with it as well. But I like to kind of do that, and they bounce off each other, they talk to each other, So like these were actually yesterday's, but yesterday I was swamped with work, so this was very apt. And then this was saying to me, well, you need to ask for help. If you pair up with someone and if you tackle it together, then you'll be able to handle it. Do you know what I mean? And it's just it's nice to kind of pair the deeper images I've found up with a more kind of a simpler, or an image that you're used to more.
Yeah.
But it definitely makes sense.
And for me, it's about, as well, once I've got that clarity by working with the cards, not only can you then deal with whatever it is that's causing you to feel like you're causing, but it also helps with your interactions with others, doesn't it? Because you can sort yourself out, but I don't know about you, but particularly for me, when I'm out of sorts, it impacts on other people, whether I intend it to or not. I do, and I manage a team, and I have to be really careful that when I'm there, because I like to be supportive. If somebody says to me, "You don't see yourself today," that really gets to me, because I think, oh, I've let whatever's going on, come out, and for someone to say you don't see myself today, I really sort of, I think to myself, I need to sort this out. I need to do the work, and this is particularly, this is a deck for me that allows me to get in and work out what the heck's going on.
Yeah. So see, if I was to say to you, Simon's a great guy, you always get him the same way. Do you take that as a really high form of compliment when someone says you always get them the same way?
Yeah. Yeah, do you?
Yeah, I do. I do. I like
Yeah.
it. I don't mind if someone says to me, "Oh, you don't seem yourself to do something." Then I actually think it's quite nice. It's quite endearing because it means that that person's noticed something. Do you know what I mean? Which can be nice sometimes, especially when you're like, well, for me, I still work from home a lot of the time. So when someone kind of notices when something's up, it can be kind of I don't know, it can be validating, it can be nice. I feel as though I'm going way off I'm going on a tangent here, so I'm going to kind of nip it in the bud there, but yeah, it can sometimes be nice.
I was just going to suggest before we go into the cards, because I've written some notes about Scylla talks about when creating her first deck, the Intuitive Tarot, she knew very little, but she said it was like coming home. And then I've scribbled, read the first bit of page 7, not figuring that it's late at night and the lighting's not great, but I do have a trusted that. I bought this from TK Maxx the weekend.
Aye.
But can I just kind of read that, because I think it sets up the whole kind of deck and what it's about.
Sure.
So
We're just going to ignore what that looks like then, yeah. Do I need to behave myself since I'm on your channel?
you did what?
Nothing.
What, this?
Just ignore me. Yeah. We're we're just going to ignore it. Carry on.
What?
Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing, Simon. You carry on, sir. You read out that first bit on page 7.
All right. So she says, when I started painting my first deck, I love that, painting my deck, the
Yeah.
Intuitive Tarot, I knew hardly anything about tarot, but it felt like a profound homecoming. Somehow these strange images called me into a different world, which at the time I just called the other world. Later, once I finished the tarot and expanded into large oil paintings, hold on a minute. Expanded into larger, and then came the Daywers of creation, and that's how I discovered Scylla, was the Daywers of creation. That was my introduction to her. It felt as if the figures I painted were conscious beings that existed in different dimensions to our own, energy beings rather than flesh and blood. They seem to be far more aware than we are, although I don't think that's too difficult. And that's Scylla's humor as well, and kind of straight talking that he was referring to. I found that such beings have been written about for millennia, since Sanskrit times, and were probably seen and experienced well before that. Then she says, Carl Jung first discovered the beings who inhabit the deep layers of the mind when, during his own therapy in the early 20th century, he encountered the old wise man, the mother, father, trickster, justice, and other figures. He called these figures archetypes, and in his studies found that all cultures share similar mental imagery, the source of which he called the collective unconsciousness. The collective unconscious. Today, the major arcana and many of the minors are seen as archetypes. So I love how she made that connection from, working with these beings that she felt weren't of flesh and blood, that were of light and spirit, how she connected them to the archetypes of the tarot, and, her sort of then delving into the layers of the mind, the layers of subconsciousness or subconscious, and how that's shared across all cultures.
Yeah. She writes beautifully. She writes just as beautifully as she paints, doesn't she?
Yeah. Simon's horny. Let's take a closer look at that. Is that what you're going on about? 'Cause this is a horn.
It's a horn. Yeah.
It matches the stuff
That's
on
what
my
Robin's
old
talking about, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so where are we? Is this where we start talking about our favourite cards?
Yes, I think we should.
Okay, so everyone join in. We want to hear about everybody's favourite cards here. We want to, we're interested in how everyone uses the deck, and what everyone's kind of impressions of each of the cards are and stuff. So do join in. You gonna go first?
Yeah. So while we're talking about the cards, I guess it's just to mention as well. This is an 80 card tarot deck, because there are 2 Fools and there are 2 Queen of Fires, and we'll talk about the Queen of Fires, but we have our Fool that we see here. Now, Scylla describes this Fool as the new babe, that sort of fresh, it's pure white, naive, starting out, full of energy, awe and wonder. And then, and it is actually numbered card 22 in Roman numerals, we have the higher Fool. So this Fool is one that is filled with sublime knowledge, having been on the Fool's journey all the way through the major arcana. So we get the new babe, as she called it, the innocent Fool, the pure Fool, naive, setting out, then becomes the golden Fool. And I just think it's beautiful. I love the colours of the golden Fool as well.
Yeah.
So this is, as she called it, the emergence of the new transformative human spirit.
Yeah.
I believe in the background colours, how they've just gone from really pale to these vibrant, these vibrant colours.
Yeah. And I love how the new Fool's reaching for the butterfly, whereas the golden Fool is reaching for that crystal lattice of consciousness. I think that's a really cool detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's one of your faves?
So my first favourite that I've got is the High Priestess. So speaking of the crystal lattice of consciousness and the High Priestess painting, I just think this is absolutely stunning. It's a stunning. Have you got it as well? Yeah, I figured you might. Yeah, I don't even know how to. I mean, even like just some of the little details on it, like that moon in the background. Like there's something kind of going on with that moon. The sky just looks, I don't know, really beautiful. And I love how we can't really see much of her face. She actually, when you do kind of hone in and focus on the face, it almost looks quite, as though she's from another world, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And I just love that. I'm all for that. One of my favorite high priestesses is the original Marielle High Priestess, if you remember that one, like the water monster guardian thing. And to me, that's just, it has similar feels as what that one does.
Yeah, and again, like you mentioned, she's actually holding, because the High Priestess is the one with that connection, isn't she? She's the one with the knowledge. She's the one whose mind is heavenly. But she's holding that lattice, this multi-dimensional crystal lattice, which is made up of layers and layers of different consciousness.
Yep.
So yeah, just gorgeous. My next one is the Empress. I just love her. It's just to say as well, nudity. But what I love, did you have her as well?
Yeah, she was my next one as well.
Yeah, just she's got you can see that the golden Fool is also holding and reaching for is right there. And very often we see our empresses as Mother Earth, but very, very earthly. and we've got this, you know, we've got the earth and the ocean and things behind her, but she's also reaching up and she's in touch with the stars, which I just think is so beautiful. And she's very Gaia-ish to me, and that's how I like to see my Mother Earth, as in touch. She's the divine mother as well as the earthly mother.
Yeah, yeah. Carol's Cauldron says the moon in the High Priestess looks like there's a dragon behind it. I agree. It actually makes me think of the Ouroboros or the Jormungandr, which is the world snake that surrounds the world. That's what it puts me in mind of, is that dragon in the High Priestess.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah.
Doesn't it?
I wonder if the book actually references. Can't see. She talks about the lattice of consciousness. Oh yes, here we are. Her intent eyes, glistening behind the veil, look deep into the past, present, and future, as shown by the Ouroboros, symbolizing the eternal cycle of renewal, coiling around the moon behind her.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Because that's another great thing about Scylla. She depicts, she writes what she's depicted in the cards, so you do really get to not only get your kind of intuitive hits and looking at the images and absorbing them, you can reference the book and get, you know, what Scylla's interpretation was as well.
Yeah, I think you're next, Simon.
Am I?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so my next one is the Hierophant. And this is a depiction of a North American Indian shaman. But I just love how it's like a spirit in the sky, you know, it's just kind of coming forward, almost like a vision. And it's a really powerful card. I love purples as well, but just look at the face.
Yeah.
Really gorgeous.
I love purple and green together. Purple and green
Yeah.
are really nice colours together, so they are.
Yeah, it's got lots of green.
Did you ever do opposite colours in art at school?
Probably, it was a long time ago.
So in art, we learned about opposite colours, and it's colours that you put together that really pop against each other. So the main ones are red and green. They're opposite because there's no red and green, and there's no green and red. Blue and orange, and purple and yellow. But I remember my second year art teacher absolutely hated purple and yellow together, and she always told us to put purple and green together instead. And just something stuck with me. I've just always loved the colours purple and green together ever since that.
Wow, that does sound familiar. We did. I took art as an option, but I mean, I think I left school the year you were born.
1988.
Oh no, 1987, even earlier.
Oh.
I probably left school around your conception. Yeah, so they are a nice colour combination, but there's also something very powerful. But I don't like, even though I love the RWS, I really don't like hierophants when they're kind of like in robes and, you know, kind of very religious looking. I like to see hierophants that are teachers, you know, or shamans, or yogis and that sort of thing. Those that have got knowledge but aren't puffed up in pride for having that status. You know, they're quite humble. So I think that's a beautiful hierophant card.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It really is. My next card, I've got a feeling that you just might have this card as well, Simon. It's this chap here, the Hermit.
I've got one before the Hermit. But yes, I have got the Hermit.
Okay. Oh, your colours look different to mine. the greens on yours actually look more vibrant than what mine's do.
I think it's just the ring light that it's in front of.
Oh, the light, right? Okay.
Because
okay.
I have done a side by side with these decks, and they are identical.
Not the same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is. It's nice. Do you know why I like it? Because it shows the cave. It
Yeah.
shows the Hermit's cave, and
Yeah.
there's not like the Hermit's cave. I suppose it's not really a thing, except that obviously your channel's called the Hermit's Cave, but in terms of like just tarot, like it's not just a thing in and of itself in tarot, is it? The Hermit's
No.
Cave.
And there's a hermit's cave that's about 20 to 30 minute drive from here.
Oh,
It's
okay.
actually called the Hermit's Cave. But I didn't know that. I went to do an Instagram post, and when I was going to try and type it in, it brought it up and it says something like 9 miles away, and I'm like, I've got to find that. So I actually filmed the Hermit's Cave on my channel about four years ago.
Oh wow.
But yeah, I mean this is a favorite of mine because, like I say, Scylla gifted me a large print of it. But
Yeah.
she talks about the journey into the unknown only illuminated by the light that's within and without here with the Fool, and is leaving that sort of village.
Castle.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it is retreating from people and civilization, and is going into this dark cave into the unknown. But yeah, I love it because it's a hermit in a cave. So
Yeah. It's lovely. You go next because you've got a card before this one.
yeah, I just love the strength card. I think it is a beautiful strength card. The depiction of the lion as well, and she's not trying to force its mouth shut. You know, she's kind of almost like brushing it down. But it's Scylla describes this as the ongoing communication, dialogue, battle between the conscious and the unconscious mind, which I think is gorgeous.
Yeah, that is. It's very kind of a fierce looking lion as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to do another one before we move on?
Okay. Death.
Got death
I
as
love
well.
it. And this is one of those cards where I'd had this for about a year, and I just started noticing things that I hadn't noticed before, like the skull up here. Do you see it?
Oh yeah. Yep.
And then all the ones at the bottom. Yeah. And it's, again, reading the book, she describes this scene as death being unavoidable. That's what the skull's there to remind us, that it's unavoidable. But she says that this is a passage through. You know, that's why it's all going in like a path. It's a passage through. It's unavoidable. But she says that death, actually, again, talking about the mind and the realms, death is a mental construct. And actually, it's nothing more than something that we've all got to face and we've all got to go through. And that's, she said, when you're talking about physical death, but of course, the traditional death card is about those kind of changes, those metamorphosis, these kind of transmutations, etc., that we go through, and we come through the other side. But it's a really powerful image, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Dark
Yeah, it
Angel,
definitely is.
Red Wing says.
The fire in it is. I don't think it's very often we see a fiery death card, but it's
No.
you know it's a beautiful image because fire is like purifying, isn't it? So I think
Yeah,
it's really nice. Yeah.
I love it.
I've got a couple of cards before the death card, so I really love the wheel. The idea of using the galaxy as the wheel of fortune, as I think she just calls it the wheel, doesn't she? But like for me, the wheel of fortune kind of reminds us that there's some things that are just outside our control, we need to focus on controlling the controllables. Don't try and control the stuff that we just don't have any influence over, because it's a waste of energy. That's usually, in a nutshell, what the Wheel of Fortune says to me when I see it come up. The idea of showing it as this galaxy. So think about what we are in this picture. We are like a dust speck on a dust speck on a dust speck in that picture. We're like nothing, you know. And just it's quite I don't know if refreshing is the word I would use. It can be quite daunting to think about how tiny, like our planet, you know, how tiny, even our own kind of a solar system and galaxy, how tiny we are on the grand scheme of things, and how it just doesn't, like, you know, when everything's taken into account, it's like it's that idea. It's just that chaos, you know.
Mm.
So I think it's a really kind of a beautiful image, and it kind of I love to think about it. Sometimes I find it really inspiring. Sometimes it makes me really dizzy to look at this card and to kind of meditate on it. It just depends, I suppose, what kind of a mood I'm in.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
gorgeous.
she's
And
a
again,
star.
so in keeping with the theme of the deck, you know, to depict a wheel, and she's talking about, you know, macrocosms in the universe. It's just really in keeping. And if people are familiar with Scylla Conway's other work, one of her most recent, Before the Old Gods, was the Book of the Dead. And you can just see Scylla's journey with this. She's got this from days of creation into these kind of ethereal beings, different levels of consciousness, going right down to the subconscious to the level of death, and then journeys. I love the star card. I think this is a beautiful star card. And she talks about this stellar ethereal being here. And she talks about it following on from the journey of the death card. And then we get to the star card. But it's just gorgeous. The faces, because very often when she's depicting beings, particularly the Dewas and stuff, they do tend to have this face. You was talking about like an unearthly face, like almost like a different type of being. That's like the face also of the High Priestess, isn't it?
Yeah.
But look at that for star card. It's just, oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Jen says the wheel card is usually one of my least favourites in the tarot. I love how unique this card is. Sean loves the star card.
Yeah, I just saw that. Beautiful. Yeah.
My next card actually is Justice. So again, I'm bringing us back. I love the Justice card. There's a lot of the cards in this deck where we need to kind of pay attention to the finer details and kind of really just kind of a look and have a think about what we're seeing. And then there's some cards where it's very clear right away, you know, what everything is, where everything is. And this is one of those cards. And I love it for that. I love how the scale is the biggest and most prominent thing that we see on the card. That kind of a scale of balance and fairness and, you know, equity, equilibrium, equality, you know, over everything, you know. It's true what they say, justice without compassion can be cruelty. But you know, justice is just is, you know. So yeah, I love it. I think it's
I
beautiful.
knew that would be one of your favorites.
Did you?
When I was going through them, yeah, I thought I think Chris will choose that one.
There you go. Yeah, drink.
I've my next one is Judgment. Now this is my favorite Judgment card ever. Again, Judgment cards I don't particularly like. because they have that sense of having to answer to something, you know, and the kind of the trumpeter, and you know, the standing and being judged. But what I love about this is just these souls just soaring up to whatever comes next. You know, they're going towards the light. And again, in the book, she says something about most people who have had near-death experiences don't speak of purgatory, you know, and this necessarily this sense of doom and being judged. What they experience is a tunnel, and they experience a light, and they experience profound peace and immense love. You know, that's what they feel: peace, love, light. And I just think this is just so beautiful. They're just being absorbed into this light, these kind of souls reaching up.
Yeah,
I love it.
See the painting as well. See the
the
painting
brush
on that card.
strokes.
Yeah, it look like you want to like touch the card and feel the, you know.
Yeah,
My stepmom's got a big massive painting on her wall that, you know, it must be the same type of paint. I think did she use like a mixture of acrylic and oils? I'm not sure if
acrylic
I'm
and
remembering
oils
that.
usually. Yeah,
Is that right? Yeah.
that's her
So
mediums usually.
right, okay. So it must be the same type, because that painting has those bits that, you know, like they stick out and it makes it feel alive. So it does.
What if we are actually bits of dust already hoovered up, existing in the Hoover bag?
Well, we wouldn't know,
What
would we?
analogy? No, it's like Men in Black, isn't it? At the very end, where it zooms out and out and out, and it turns out that we're whatever was inside. I can't even remember now.
Yeah, we're the wee monsters in the locker.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether I should go next or whether you should, Simon.
I've got
'Cause I'm
one more
conscious that
major.
Right, I've got two more majors.
Go on, then you.
I can
you
do
go.
them. Okay. My next favorite is the
The
moon.
moon.
Like, I know people are probably sick of hearing me saying this, but water. See, when water is depicted well in an image, I'm there for it. That's me. Buy button. I just think it's absolutely stunning, and the moon as well. The way that she's done the moon, and the kind of details on it. Or did you have it as well?
No, I just thought I'd hold it up.
Oh,
I love it, but you know, like I said to you before we came on, I could choose every card.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
You next?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's
So, I just had to have the universe. Oh, I mean, that's it, isn't it? Journey complete, and the soul just totally surrendering and accepting and embracing that end result, you know. And this, she refers to it, she don't refer to it as the world card. She refers to it as the universe card. Again, beautiful purples, beautiful galaxies, but this soul just surrendering to all that is at the end of the journey.
Yeah.
I just think it's gorgeous.
Yeah, that is very stunning. My last one is the sun. So it is. Again, I feel as though there's water there. I don't know if it's meant to be a heat wave or if it is meant to be water, but yeah, I just love the way that this card's like. It's very simple, and I would say that about the moon as well. They are very kind of a simplistic. You know, they show what they're meant to show, but wow, it's just stunning the way that she's done it. I love the colours. I love how there's this kind of a swirling radiance of light, if you want to put it that way. Yeah, I just love it. I should probably have had a wee think and, put together some notes on why I like these cards so much. I could have been a wee bit more eloquent, but yeah, it's just beautiful.
We're just sharing, aren't we? It's just whatever we feel. I've just realised as well, we've been on an hour. I don't know. Are you okay for time?
Yeah, I'm perfect
cool.
for time.
So we're on to the minors then. So what suit do you want to go with? Have you got some for each suit?
I have. I've got. There is a representation of each suit here. I've only got 6 cards left in total, so I'll maybe let you go for a bit. So I'll follow your lead. You kind of
Okay. Well, so if I start with the cups, you show my favourite cups, and if you've got one, and then you add yours in, shall we do that?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll make it a little bit quicker. So 2 of cups. Oh my gosh, what a gorgeous 2 of cups. I love this kind of flow of water, that sort of energy. And of course, the cups is about our emotions and love and everything like that. But it's that they're embracing, they're alone. It doesn't matter who else, they're alone in the universe. That's all that matters is them and their love and this water crashing around them. And then the 6 of cups. This card. So you've got here, here, it's the opposite side. This older person with a hand on her heart. And the 6 of cups is the card that we often refer to as the nostalgic card, isn't it? That sort of thinking back to our childhood. You've got these 2 children at play with balloons. But the way I see this, and I don't know if it's how Scylla intended it or not, but there's this kind of swirling, almost like it's looking through something, like a portal. I see that her looking back, that's a memory. She's looking back into a time where, the trees are ripe with fruit. They're alive. They're luscious and vibrant. And the kids have got energy, and she's there. She's old. She's frail. She's old in her heart. And she's just looking back to a time, where she was carefree. I just think it's gorgeous. 8 of cups. I love this because, again, I keep saying cups. She doesn't refer to cups. She refers to elements. So it's water, 8 of water. But this in particular, the moon is out and it's illuminating the path for her to follow. And when we think, about being a little bit fearful, not knowing how to proceed, that the moon is guiding, it's providing that light and illuminating the path for her to follow.
Yeah, and she's submitting to it. She's like giving her all to it, She's completely giving
proceeding with
herself over
faith,
to that energy.
Yeah, exactly. And then Page of Cups, significant card for both of us. I had to just mention it. I just love the energy and the flow of that. I think it's gorgeous. Did you have any cups?
The cup that I've got is the king. King of Cups. Very similar to the warrior, has that kind of a Poseidon feel about him, which is beautiful in and of itself. I love that he's actually made up, or he appears to be kind of a made up of the water, but I also love the contrast of it. Kind of looks like a billowing cape to me behind him, but I'm not sure if that's what it's meant to be or not. But I love the contrast of the blue against the red, and it makes me think of, so for me, kings are about kings are social responsibility, whereas cups are kind of like more of the lighter side of life. So to me there's a bit of a contrast between the king and the cup suit. So I always read a bit of contrast in my King of Cups for that reason. And I think it's depicted really, really well here. Like I can really see it, and it looks like Triton from The Little Mermaid, so it does a wee bit. So yeah,
Cool.
that's the only water card that I've got picked out.
Tammy Pies asked a question. Are these two different prints, or is yours lighting just different? Yeah, it's just the lighting. I've got a rig light on that kind of makes it a little bit more vibrant. I did do a side by side of the two decks. I've got second edition. Chris has got first edition, and the print is the same. There's no difference. It's just how it's appearing on camera. Different lenses as well show different colors, don't they?
Yeah.
So on to fire. I don't know if you've got any in fire, but I've got the 4 of fire. Oh, I mean this. It's a homecoming, but it's a homecoming for the soul. You can see they're kind of again these beings, these light beings, depicted as souls. So I think that's the soul is the home. You know.
Yeah. I always think that looks like a cup card or a water card. Just because it is very kind of a, I don't know, it looks like a rainy day. There's something dead watery feel about it.
Yeah.
In the best way, in a nice way.
And Scylla talks in the book about figures to the side that are welcoming them home. And no matter how I study this card, I can't see any other figures. And I just know they're going to appear to me at some point. But I can't see them unless, I don't know. Maybe when she did her big oil print, they were more obvious. But the 7 of fire, I've always loved this card. It's just that sort of going for broke, a leap of faith, jumping out, trying to, you know, you could look at, because when we think of, if this was the 7 of wands, you know, it's that fighting a losing battle, isn't it? But it's the endurance as well. And it might look, you know, if she misses that, she's going to plummet. But it's that going for broke, that fighting spirit. And then I've got the 9. Now this is, have you? It's the surface of the sun, isn't it? When you read the book, I mean, it's an impossible situation to stand on the surface of the sun. So it's a metaphor, but it's about courage and it's about persistence.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Why did you like it?
Just it's the overwhelming. It's fire and it's most overwhelming, you know, like really high fire energy. And I know, you know, a lot of us associate that with the 10, you know, just in normal reading terms. But for me, the 10 of fire is a bit more about renewal of the cycle. And so, yeah, the 9 of fire for me is the kind of you know, like, whoa, this is getting too much. I'm getting burnt here. It's the really overwhelming kind of a fire stage. So I just think it's beautiful.
Yeah. Naomi's just said the 3 at the side are the spirit, but to me that just looks like the trees, because there's like trees at the top of those 3. Just looks like 3 tall trees, but I don't know if it was like the shadowy bits here and here. This is so hard to do when you're having to do it in reverse. And then I guess we have to mention the 2 cards that we get we get 2 queens. And the reason why she did queens is because you get this queen where the snake is very close to her face. And she was saying that not everybody appreciates snakes, and particularly when they're wrapping around a body or close to a face. So there's this alternative queen, which is she's kind of conducting electricity, isn't she? Which brings in that fire element, but it's exactly the same image. The only difference is one's a snake and one's electricity.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites.
Was
I
it?
just love and it's the snake one that I use in the deck.
Same.
I think it's beautiful. I love snakes. I'd take a snake in a card over a child any day of the week. And I love her cool orange hair as well. The vibrancy. And she's doing a wee cheeky, a wee cheeky nip slip or two. So I like that as well. It brings out that kind of a confidence of the queen, kind of a energy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Was that all of your fire cards?
Yes.
Right, I picked the king as well. Oh, that's not the king. Oh, there he's there.
thought
I
you
picked
might.
the king as well. Yeah, I think this is so good. Just the use of the centaur. Again, it looks like he's potentially holding this lattice of consciousness as well. So he's kind of connected to that kind of a higher, that higher state of being or whatever. But we get this, like, it's as though she's kind of going like that with the painting before it's dried to give it this kind of a chaotic, energetic feel. And depending, like, so I know some people like to associate the quartz with elements. And depending on who you read, the kings might be air or they might be fire. So some people see the king of fire as the fire of fire. So he's like standing in the fire. It looks as though he's kind of on fire or he's moving really, really fast, full of energy. I just think that it's really a really clever depiction.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
I've got air next.
Yep.
5 of air. I love this. And again, I had this deck must have been a year before I even noticed the eyes.
Oh yeah.
They're really obvious when you zoom in like this, but when you're just looking at the card, it took me a while. And it's about that sort of many threats that we face in our life and that they come in different guises. Sometimes they're not always obvious, but I just love this kind of medieval cloaked figure. It reminds me of a scene out of Eyes Wide Shut. But these eyes, almost beast kind of eyes as well, aren't they? When you see it
They
up
look
close like that.
panther or something.
Yeah. An amazing card. And then I love the 7. So the 7 depicts this kind of crone that's a loner, out. There's this crow here as well where my fingers are, but there's some barrels. So it's like, and smoke coming out of the chimney. It's making do in the situation. It's a hostile environment that they're experiencing, but they're getting everything in order to be able to survive it. Fire, food in the barrels, but that sort of retreating away and becoming a loner.
Feels very Tim Burton.
Tim
There's a
Burton.
really kind of Tim Burton feel to it. Like it makes me think of Nightmare Before Christmas.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Definitely 100%. Yeah. Does anyone else see that, or is that just a me thing? Let me know.
She looks kind of ghostly, says Sandra. So, and then the 8. Do you know, I always, when it comes to the 8, and I know this is air, but the 8 of Swords, that kind of looking for a way out. It's a self-imposed prison of the mind, isn't it? And these chains are really loosely tied around. She's up in the mountains, right on top of this hill with this stump of a tree. The wind is blowing around, but she's actually holding the rope that's loosely binding her. And if she just lets go of that rope that she's using to keep herself prisoner, I'm saying it's kind of a genderless figure. it's because in my mind I'm seeing the RWS card. You know, then that binding drops away.
Yeah,
So
it
that's
makes you
it for
wonder,
my
is
air.
she holding on to it because she's scared she's going to blow away, you know? So she's imprisoning herself, but it's a kind of a self-imposed because it almost gives her a weird sense of security. Do you know what I mean? Because it looks as though there's like a really serious air storm blowing around about her.
And she's in a vulnerable position because she's gone to the top of this high mountain, this hill.
Yeah.
And the elements are going to be worse up there, aren't they?
Yeah. So for air, for me, I've just got the one, and it is this one, the 2. I just love it. I just love it. Like, I know that it's different, and it's not like kind of a. So if you're kind of a quite set in your tarot meanings, then you might associate the 2 of air or the 2 of swords with that kind of a. You've got a difficult decision to make, or you're the piggy in the middle, or you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and you're not sure where to go. I'll admit it might be quite difficult to get that from this image, but still, like, just this kind of a. There's just so much that you can take from it. I think the painting's beautiful. I love the way the thunder's depicted. Like, you could see this as a really like tough position to be in, or some days it comes up and it's like she's got all this power right in the palms of her hands. Some days it feels really powerful. So yeah, this is just that, and I don't know, there's something to do with the colours as well, the way the colours progress, like dark. We've got all these kind of a darks, then blues, and then this layer of this kind of a brighter orange at the bottom. I don't know. I can't quite put into
Gorgeous.
words what it is about it, but it's stunning.
It really brings in a lot of the elements as well, though, doesn't it? You know, there's that kind of fiery element as well with the lightning.
Yeah.
And the heavy rain clouds, that stood on the earth with the air. It's fantastic. Night Daughter Oracle says it's still available. It is still available. Just if you Google the Shimmering Veil, it will take you to Scylla's shop because No Do Way has just ordered it. So I know that it's still available.
Yeah,
so that was
I think
your
both
only
versions are actually still available, believe it or not.
Are they?
I believe so. I was on our website just before we went live, just to kind of a check and see, and I think you can still purchase the first edition and the second edition.
Cool.
I've put a link to Scylla's website in the chat, folks. So, if you do feel like you want to have a look into it further, then that's the best place to go.
Thank you. So on to Earth, our final suit. I think I've got 3, 4.
I've got 1.
Is it? I've written Earth of Earth. In my notes, I put Earth of Earth. So I think, let me have a look. Oh yeah, the first one will be the 4. I think this is a fantastic card. Particularly when you look down here, when you think of the 4 pentacles and holding on to coins or whatever, this isn't a coin, it's a globe. But for me, it represents the worldly goods, holding on to things that you can't ever take with you. And then there's this force in the background. We've got this kind of cityscape, but really holding on to the worldly possessions depicted as a globe here, I think is fab.
And the figure descending as well, that figure descending on them.
Yeah.
In the sky. It almost looks like
down.
It could be the death figure, the figure from the death card.
Yeah. Whatever it is, it feels otherworldly, doesn't it? The Five of Pentacles is a favorite for mine, and I always look out for this card. I think this is depicted really well. They're kind of walking away from it's a very dark and shadowy place. You've got this kind of church or building in the background, some sort of structure. Doesn't feel very inviting. There's not a warm glow in this one, but they're kind of half turning back as well. But they're certainly moving away from a hostile situation.
Mhm.
And then I love the 7. And when we think about the 7, about the toil, I just see this person as taking a well-earned rest after a day of labor and just getting some time, even though it's the end of the day and the sun's setting, just being outdoors, seeing the beauty and the majesty of the mountains and plains and the sky and everything, just really gets that sense of resting after toil.
Yeah.
And then the last one I've got, I just think this is such a beautiful card. I just imagine this being hanging on a wall in a stately home, but it's the Queen.
Right.
Just look at that for an oil painting. Now, the Queen here, she's very much in touch with the land, as you'd imagine for the Queen of Earth. She's got a very nice house in the background, but she knows the land. And that's depicted by having an overflowing basket, abundance of vegetables and fruits, because she knows the land. But not only that, she's got a finery, she's got a gown on, she's got a pearl. She's very much of the earth in every sense, really. But she understands the land that's around her.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And
my favorite is the I've just got one card from the Earth suit. It's the 10. So when you read what she says about what we're seeing here, it's basically a timeline of everything from the very first kind of a living, what do you even want to say, beings, because they weren't quite plants, they weren't quite animals, they were like, I think, unicellular, living things, through like the dinosaurs, through to like kind of a us and modern day kind of a life. Do you know what it puts me in mind of? I don't know if this is a film that you would have seen, Simon, but one of the X-Men films, I think it might be Days of Future Past, or it might be Apocalypse. I'm not sure, but the startup theme, I think it's Apocalypse, because we start seeing Elsa Banur, who's like this ancient Egyptian. Like he's a mutant, which is the X-Men series is all about these kind of a people called mutants who've got powers. So he's a mutant, but it's set in like old ancient Egyptian times. And then like you get the first scene, and then the kind of a title sequence, and it's like takes you through like a time kind of a thingy. So you're seeing all these images appear. So you're seeing like kind of a Christ carrying the cross. You're seeing I'm sure there's a swastika to represent the Nazi movement and all that kind of a thing. It just has like kind of these representations of all these big events that have happened through time, and it's like wham, you're being hit with all this stuff and it's a really beautiful way of showing that movement from that old time to present day. And like 10 of Earth is all about that. It's legacy. It's everything that's come before and everything that we that will pass down. When we leave it, and I just think that this is the general image that we tend to see is like the kind of the material stuff that we would tend to associate. The stuff that we would tend to pass down, but this is an actual representation of the legacy of the entire Earth. And I just think it's so clever. It's done really beautifully. I love it. I think this image is beautiful and genius all in one.
That's the word I was just thinking of. Just Scylla is genius, isn't she? Not only is she a phenomenal artist, but also the way she is able to project into her art all these kind of metaphors, and it's just, I just think she can do no wrong. I think she's incredibly talented, and like you said at the beginning, the way she writes and describes things as well in the books, she's just very gifted. So
yeah, definitely.
So that's the deck.
I know that worked quite well for time, actually, didn't it?
Yeah. I didn't know if it would be an hour or whether it would be an hour and a half, because the old ones used to be an hour, but my lives tend to be about an hour and a half. So if you're happy with this, we said, didn't we, tonight would be a kind of just suck it and see, and whatever it turns out to be, that this is kind of what it will be going forward. Did you want to talk about next month?
Yeah. So before I do that, I wanted to say, because I had some overall impressions that I wanted to kind of get across just really quickly. I think I've kind of said most of this stuff anyway. So like the beautiful art style, I think I've said that like 25 times now. I've said about how she clearly has a lot of knowledge to impart, and that's clear right through the deck. Some of the other wee notes that I had here, I love the titles. See, they're very subtle. They're not imposing at all, but it's very clear right away what card you've got. I think it's so clever the way she's done it. And what I also love is she's not just picked like the triangles, elemental symbols. She's made her own, and I think I don't know. I just really appreciate it. I was trying to think about, is there anything there's nothing that I would say I don't like. The only thing I would say is sometimes it's not immediately clear from the card what the actual details are that she's painted and that she's trying to convey, which can be a really good thing. Sometimes, it lets your imagination run wild and it lets you see your own thing. But there are sometimes where I feel like in order to fully appreciate what she's doing here, I need to go to the book. And that it's not a bad thing, but it's just something to be aware of. Sometimes in order to get the full, a full appreciation of what it is that you're looking at, you might need to kind of look it up and read the book to see, what is Scylla actually intending here. So that was just something that I wanted to say.
No, I agree.
What about you? Did you have any overall kind of thoughts?
I've kind of gone over as we've gone through. Like I said, I think it's a very important deck. I think her work is fantastic. It does work on different levels. There is a theme with all of Scylla's decks, and it is about the multidimensional divas or devas, the Shimmering Veil and the multi-dimensions. The Book of the Dead, you get that sense that this is part of her life's work. But for me, it works on a very deep level, as I've already mentioned. The artwork is stunning, and the more I look at it, the more I find things in it, and the more is revealed to me. And what you just said then about the book is really important, because I kind of I read the beginning, the intro, what it was about, but I don't always read each page of cards. I don't read all the 78 cards. I get stuck in with the deck. But for this one, after a time, I went back to read the book, and I'm like, oh, and it'll be, I'd have had a different take. So it's interesting to bring in what Scylla's thoughts and intentions were when depicting those cards. So I agree with that. It's good to do it. But it's still one of my all-time favorite tarot decks. I adore it. I can't ever see a time when I wouldn't have it, because I've just got a complete love affair with it. It's an important tool for me in my spiritual practice.
Yeah, definitely. So next time, so we said the first Thursday. First Thursday of the month, didn't we?
That'll be the 6th.
So the 6th, right? Okay, the 6th of July. Wow.
Yeah.
So next time we are going to be looking at Tarot of the She. by Emily Carding. So yeah, that's another deck that I love and adore. Love to use. I've actually got 2 versions of it. Anyway, we don't need to get into that. We can get into that next time. I'm just rambling now.
No, I was just about to say, well, I've only got a trimmed version. Maybe I should get. Yeah, we don't need to talk about that.
So yeah, catches on the 6th of July, and we'll have a wee chinwag about the Tarot of She.
Yeah, brilliant. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. It's really nice to have Throwback Thursday back. If you're watching this back at a later date and you've got any sort of feedback or anything like that, or anything you'd like us to, that we perhaps haven't covered, that you'd like us to cover in future ones, then drop that in either of our channels, wherever you're watching it. We'll appreciate your feedback, and we'll try and do what we can do. But again, we are limited as well. And I don't know if there'll be as many cards next time, because this is such a favorite deck of mine. It was really hard. I could have more or less showed every one, so it was hard to scale it back. But we'll see how we do with Tarot of the She. I'm in for the She, says Tommy Pie.
Brilliant.
All right. Take care, everyone.
See you later, guys. Bye-bye.